So let's bring in our featured artist of the night, Misao McGregor. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes,
Good,
Misao
because I'm not
McGregor.
that smart. So
Oh, give yourself more credit than that.
no, no. Anyway, so you're from LA and you you submitted your music and you're how old are you? You're pretty young, right?
I'm 24.
Nice, cool. So we're gonna get deeper with Dave in a little bit and find out more. But can you just sort of give us your elevator pitch and about who you are and what you're doing with music, and a little bit about when you go away? We'll check that out and we'll come back and get deeper with Dave.
Yes, absolutely. So, my name is Misao McGregor. I'm a singer songwriter based in Los Angeles, California right now. I was born and raised into a musical family, but started writing music on my own when I was 12. And that was sort of when I started figuring out, oh, I have a voice and I really love telling stories, and songwriting was a great way to do that. And also, as a queer, non binary, mixed race, second generation Japanese American singer songwriter, songwriting has also given me a platform to be able to speak about my multiple identities in that way. And so, with When You Go Away, I actually released this in May. And at that point, we had sort of been on lockdown for about 2 months. Everything was still kind of crazy and confusing. And I wanted to do something that was going to bring people together virtually. I went to college on the East Coast, and so I unfortunately have not been able to see any of my
Hmm.
friends since I graduated. And
Hmm.
so a way for me to connect with them during this time was to have this idea of doing a music video that was virtual. I sent everybody the song and had them film themselves dancing along to it or baking, anything that was bringing them joy, because at that point it just felt so sad and lonely and desperate and confusing. And so I wanted to be able to infuse a little bit of joy and reconnect with my loved ones, even if they were far away.
Very cool. Well, let's check out that video right now, shall we? And we'll be right back in the Music Live episode 228.
What are the chances of sleeping in when we rise so early every now and then? It's nice to feel your body warm when your mind has been so worn. Wish I could kiss it gently till you smiled again. When you go away, and I still wait around. When you go away, and I'm still looking for you to be found. I kick myself for waiting up. You tell me just go back to bed. Somehow I'm still afraid I'll never see you again. We fell in love so long ago, and now that roller coaster ride is taking its toll. Not without passion or laughter or joy, just a different kind of pace. Wish I could frame that feeling, love the moment that I looked and knew that I would never look away. Go away, I still wait around. When you go away, I'm still looking for you to be found, like our first night together.
That was beautiful. All right, so I'm feeling like maybe like a Natalie Merchant, Sarah McLachlan little flavor going on, but I feel like you're kind of dipping your toe into that pop scene, into the waters of the pop scene. It's maybe a little too cold. You don't want to jump in completely
Yeah.
because there's just a little flavor of it. So I wanted to kind of talk about that first in terms of where you feel you sit in the whole like, indie slash pop crossover place and where you want to be, or are you just kind of experimenting with it?
Yeah. I mean, with that song in particular, that was very much me still experimenting. Within the last like 2 years, I started self-producing my own music. And that was a whole learning experience for me to sort of figure out, what do I want my sound to be like? Because up until that point, it was just me at the piano. And so it was like, I know what that sounds like. That sounds like every other singer-songwriter, which I love. But I was also like, okay, with production though, you can start to, mix up the genres and things like that. And so with that song in particular, I definitely have more pop leaning tendencies. But I think I actually recently released my debut album, Kid in the Corner, in December. And that one itself is, I think, a bigger step in like terms of growth from When You Go Away, in terms of that sound and figuring that out. But I still like to be able to, I don't know, make music without genres or without labels, because I grew up in a musical family, but my parents are classical musicians. So I grew up in the classical world, running around backstage behind the orchestra, and
Yep.
then learned. My brother plays jazz piano, and so I got those influences. And I think I just sort of wanted to be and continue. I want to be like a sponge and just sort of take in everything, and sort of keep exploring that way. So.
Yeah, I mean, I started playing piano when I was about 5, and Joe's been. Is that about when you started, Joe? Because you
12.
started in 12, okay, but you started with some classical training, is right,
Oh
I
yeah.
believe. Yeah, so I think it's I've talked about this often with friends where I think if you're going to become a multi-instrumentalist or a producer or write songs after that, I feel like piano, in my opinion, is always been the best place to start, just because it's linear.
Yeah.
It's like you learn in this linear manner. It's all kind of laid out in a row, and you could extrapolate that to a guitar with 6 strings, or different instruments like that. That's just been my experience. What do you think about that? Do you agree?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I took piano lessons maybe at age 6. And so I was put in like classical training and everything, and then got into singing in different choirs. So I learned music theory maybe 3 times over.
Mm.
And I was like, oh my God, this is so boring. And so I became the worst piano student ever. I feel so bad for my teachers because I just never practiced. And instead I would just come into lessons and they'd be like, all right, show me your scales. And I'd be like, I would really love to be able to just like talk about this thing that happened in my life. And I'm like 7 years old, and they're like,
Yeah.
what drama are you experiencing at this age? But that was the thing. Like, music was always therapy to me. Like I was, lucky to have sort of like the somewhat technical training, and as much as I was, able to embody it. But music as an art form has always been like so much more about, the emotionality of it, what it does, how it connects people and stuff. But I'm super grateful to be able to play piano and to sort of be able to go through genres like that.
And that our artistic brain apparently has kind of evolved into becoming a playwright. I thought that was really cool. I was
Yeah.
flipping through your website, which, by the way, is misaomcgregor.com,
There you
MISAOMCGREGOR.com.
go.
Yeah, you could see all her stuff. I mean, you could even see the chip on her shoulder on her
Hmm.
pictures page in the form of Bernie Sanders, a miniature Bernie Sanders sitting on her shoulder. I
It
thought
was
that
too
was
good of an opportunity to
I know.
miss.
The meme explosion like no other.
Truly.
But the becoming a playwright, it's I mean, you've actually won some kind of like some indie awards here. Hello Kitty
Yeah.
and a bunch Dandelions Conquer.
Yeah.
Uh
Ooh.
yeah, talk about that. Just like how that kind of fits in your career moving forward, and how you balance it with the music.
Yeah, so I went to school in Connecticut. I went to a small liberal arts institution, and I studied theater and music. Those were my 2 majors. And while I was studying theater, I really fell in love with playwriting. At first, I genuinely thought I was terrible at it, because my our teacher like wasn't giving us any feedback. So I would send in, my assignments, and he'd just be like, all right," and I'd be like, do you have any thoughts on it though? Like, can I improve on anything? Is it horrible? Like, and over time he was like, you'll find out. You'll discover that later on. And when he finally was like, no, I think you have something, it just sort of clicked in a way, because I'd been writing songs, and why not write plays as well? And at least with playwriting, it's offered me so many different opportunities to I'm kind of a dork and I love research. Like I love learning about new things and sort of just like delving head straight into a project. And so with plays, I've been able to do that with characters and with different historical pieces. Like my college capstone piece, I researched Japanese internment camps and wrote sort of like a personal play where the grandmother was an internee and things like that. And so I think that part of my brain that's just like always constantly curious comes up as a playwright, but then also as a musician, because I mean, I just want to keep writing songs and keep exploring what I can do, you know?
All right, so you can look back on this video in 10 years to the
Yeah.
answer to this question of what do you feel is your greater calling as you sit today in terms of playwright versus music?
Oh my God. It's so hard to choose because to me, they're very different worlds, at least right now in this part of my life. Obviously with everything locked down, like theater is not happening. It's happening virtually. And I've been a part of that, but it's not the same thing, and same with music. But at least with music, I think because I started to learn how to produce and be self-sufficient on my own during this period of isolation, I learned how to do all of these different things like mixing and doing self-promotion and things like that. So at this point, music feels like a thing that I can do without other people helping me a lot. That sounds horrible. Not like I've got it all figured out, guys. No. No, but I think with music right now, I've found that I can develop these skills on my own. Whereas with theater, I really love like the collaboration that you have in a rehearsal room. And I want to get back to that point with music, to be in a rehearsal room and collaborate in that way as well.
Gotcha. All right, well
Whew, saved that answer.
yeah. We are going to move on to the next song here. So I had mentioned the website there. I encourage people to go check it out to see all of your cool, crazy stuff compressed there in one place.
Thank you.
How about social? Do you what are some of your handles on social media where you're active?
I'm most active on Instagram, and that is Misao_McGregor. Again, MISAO_MCGREGOR.
Okay.
And I have a Facebook page. You can try. I may not respond. I'm so sorry in advance.
That's all right. All right, we'll be keeping an eye on you, Misao. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you so much for having me.